Hi, I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's. I'm a landscape architect and a landscape contractor, and we're here on a warm August day, and we're at a garden that we completed. We designed and installed about 2 to 3 years ago, probably about 2.5 years ago, and we wanted to use it to show you some basic design and installation principles that we hope will help you in your own garden. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Chip and I plan to be doing a lot more videos for you. If you like them, please click on like and click on subscribe and click on the bell so that you'll be notified every Sunday when we post our new videos. One of the real leaders and important people in residential design is landscape architect Thomas Church, who's kind of a trailblazer. He and some of his colleagues, not necessarily working with him, but also in the field at the same time, like Garrett Eckbo and Robert Royston, pioneered the idea of what some call a California landscape, which is now all over the country, and is the idea of extending the house into the garden. Thomas Church passed away in 1978, but many of us still are paying attention to the principles that he designed by, and this courtyard is a nice example of what he talked about in his book, Gardens Are for People. He has a section called Put a Garden Terrace Where You Will Use It, and it just expands this idea of courtyards as being useful and important parts of a garden in order to extend the house out into the garden. Here, this is a front courtyard. It does extend the house. It has a seating area here that they use almost every day, and has direct access to the house at the same level, so you just walk out onto the house. Thomas Church talked about that. He did interject some levity into his book, and he said when you're designing these outdoor spaces that you should be cognizant of the fact of what they're going to be used for. So if they're for shelling the peas, they should be sheltered from wind. If they're for sleeping, they should be quiet and sheltered from noise. And if they're for drinking, they should be level. Perfect example of a front courtyard with fencing that's also very elegant, I think, in keeping with the theme of Thomas Church, in that it separates the space. My partner used to chide me that I would teach community classes and I'd teach this idea of front courtyards. And there is a certain subtlety that you have to use when you design front courtyards. And one of those is to make that fence skillfully designed so it doesn't look like a stockade. And he said he could drive around Fresno and see all the people that took my classes because they had these blocky stockade-like looking fences in front of their to create their courtyard. So maybe I didn't emphasize this idea of the design of the fence is one of the most important parts of it, or the design of the separation of how you're creating a courtyard. It doesn't even need to be a fence. But this is one of my favorites, done very skillfully designed by Bob Truxell, and perfect example of a way to create a front courtyard that looks like the rest of the garden, and you can see into the house, but still does create separation. So our second point is this idea that Thomas Church wrote about a lot, and that is creating outdoor rooms. It goes hand in hand with the idea of extending the house out into the garden, and extending it in a way where you have these well-defined spaces. And the front courtyard, which we're still in right here, is a great example of it. It is like an outdoor room. It has several, actually it's more than one room. It has several places for seating for different situations, and it's also the entry to the front of the house. Lots of them are well-defined spaces, and I talk about defining space a lot when designing gardens. You'll see that in this garden. Even the ones that aren't necessarily designed for a lot of heavy use by people, still are well defined and could be considered outdoor rooms. In our back garden, we have several outdoor spaces. It's again designed as a series of outdoor rooms. We have the one I'm standing on right now with that extends the back of the house out into the garden with essentially a back patio, which has several opportunities for seating. And then we have a separate space just on the other side of the lawn that has another seating opportunity with a different paving material. In that case, it's a compacted pea gravel with metal edging, and then we have a little fountain in another part of the garden, all of them lending themselves to different uses, different depending on the exposure, the time of the day, different places that you would sit and use. Then there's some type of circulation pattern to link the outdoor rooms, but the theme of the whole garden is several outdoor rooms linked together with some type of uniform circulation. Simplicity is a concept that Thomas Church talks about a lot in Gardens Are for People, and he refers and implies that a lot of times when you see gardens done by homeowners, that they seem to think you need fancy shapes and curlicues and such, and he makes the point that a lot of times the simplest way to get from one point or another with shapes, with circulation paths and such, is the most direct route. And this garden, I think, is a good example of very simple shapes. And we have a front lawn here that shows that it's a circle. There's nothing curlicue about it, nothing fancy about it. It's a simple circle lined with Natchez crepe myrtles and annuals under the crepe myrtles. So a very simple space that you could also say is an outdoor room. It has a bench at one end, and the main circulation from the street goes around this central space in the front garden. So simplicity is something that I think you need to consider a lot. Figure out the simplest, easiest way, and a lot of times that's also the most artistic. So a common theme in do-it-yourself landscaping is there's this temptation to plant what starts out being very small plants to line the front of the house with it. That's called foundation planting. Foundation planting originated because way back when houses had unattractive foundations, and that row of plants was used to hide the foundations. House design and architecture has evolved to a point where most houses are not ugly, in fact, very attractive. And we believe in kind of moving everything out away from the house and creating these spaces away from the house and not having this row that can actually swallow up the house, particularly if you don't club them into submission. Thomas Church calls that clubbing them into submission, remembering all the shapes you learned in geometry. So circles and squares and rectangles, and sometimes they're distorted circles and shapes and rectangles. And that doesn't allow the plant to show off its form, which is many times the best feature of a plant. Also doesn't allow a lot of plants to bloom because you're constantly clubbing it into submission and removing the beginnings of blooms. Pick things that are the appropriate size, where it complements the house. They can grow in their natural form. We don't need to hide the house. Many times we want to feature the house, and stay away from plants that are going to get too big for their spot. The only place we want to use big evergreen shrubs is where we need to screen for either because of unattractive views or unattractive uses.
Hey there, friends. Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell. If you enjoyed this video, have any questions, or just want to say hi, let us know in the comments below. Want to learn more about our products? Then head over to our website, www.johnandbobs.com.